Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, Church Hub AI Edition. Church Hub is a platform that helps pastors lead smarter, not harder. I'm here with my good buddy, Mr. Rick Bulman. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Mo?
Good. Hey, Rick, over the past several weeks, we've explored a ton of questions. Future of the church, will AI replace a pastor, hybrid ministry? And so now we're wrapping up this mini-series with a pretty important question, which is why innovation is biblical. So we're going to talk about creativity, adaptation, technology in terms of threats, or does it help us? Innovation isn't rebellion. It's obedience when done the right way. Before we jump in, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, tell us in the comments what you want to hear about. And Rick and I, we'll hit those. We're just ramping it up here. So we're excited. So Rick, I want to start here. When people hear the word innovation, they often think business. They're not really thinking about the Bible. So let's start there. Why is innovation biblical?
That's a great question. Innovation, think of it this way. Innovation starts with God. The very first verse in Scripture says, in the beginning, God, what? Created, right? So creativity isn't something we invented. It's part of His nature. And because we're made in His image, it's part of ours. So when we innovate, we're not trying to be trendy. We're reflecting our Creator.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, everything really does start there. So, yeah, and I
We're
mean,
wired.
it really is. And for pastors out there, I'm always looking for creative ideas for ministry experiments that you're doing at your church. All the good stuff. If you got something, drop it in the comments. Love to hear it. Rick, can you give maybe a couple examples from Scripture where innovation actually pushed God's mission forward?
Absolutely. My favorite one is Noah. I mean, God gave him blueprints for something the world has never seen, a big old ark in the middle of the desert, Moses, he built a tabernacle with specific designs that symbolized God's presence, and he did it in a portable way. Like you had to move it. Paul, he used Romans roads and letters to spread the gospel farther than he can ever travel. So each of those moments was actually innovation.
Yeah. So if innovation is biblical, why does it still make some pastors nervous?
Because here it is. You ready, Mo? Innovation challenges comfort. Every time God does something new, it threatens old habits. And for pastors, change feels risky. What if it fails? What if people don't like it? And they're done that. I'm not mocking them. I'm mocking myself because trust me, I've had those thoughts and feelings. Faith has always required risk. So fear of innovation is often fear of losing control, fear of losing tradition, fear of losing familiarity. But the irony is staying the same can be a bigger risk than stepping forward.
So tell me about the difference between innovation and imitation.
That's actually an important distinction. Imitation says, let's do what everyone else is doing because it works. Innovation says, what is God doing right here, right now? So think of it this way. Innovation listens vertically, but imitation looks horizontally. One is led by the Spirit. The other one is what you would probably call social proof. So the real test of innovation is whether it aligns with God's direction for your specific assignment in that season.
Yeah, I think that's really hard too, because what's the old saying? Imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
And, a church, usually like a big church or something, will put out a new curriculum or something, and everybody jumps on it and says, this is great. But then you realize it really doesn't fit your culture because it's not cookie cutter. So I'd be interested to hear from churches, from pastors, what's something that you stopped using because it looked great on the surface and it probably was a great program, for instance, but it just didn't fit your culture.
And Mo, can I just say on that, I think that, and I'm guilty, totally guilty, that when we do that and when I've done that, like, oh, that's working for that big church. And so it's got to work for my smaller church. What I'm doing is in that moment, I'm outsourcing responsibility to hear from God for my church, because that pastor, let's just assume they sought the Lord to build that curriculum for that church in that season. But we didn't. We just looked. And so it's like we're outsourcing the responsibility of trying to hear from God for our local church and the need for today. So we just grab what we think works, and we should never do that.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you about innovation in terms of truth. There's some people out there that when they hear the word innovation, they think it means, man, I have to compromise truth.
Yeah,
How do you respond to that?
that's a big misconception. I would say the gospel never changes, but the way we deliver it must. So, I mean, you can read about it. Jesus never altered truth to fit the culture, but he used stories, he used symbols and settings that connected with people right where they were. So, innovation is about methods, not message. So, we can use new tools to still protect the timeless truth of the gospel.
Yeah, well, then what happens when innovation goes too far? It feels more like a gimmick than a
Sure.
gospel tool. What do you do then?
That's where discernment comes in. Innovation becomes dangerous when we chase novelty. If a new method draws attention to the tool instead of the truth, we've missed the point. But if it helps us reach more people, like, with clarity and care, that's good stewardship. So, listen, I would say it's not about being the first to do something, it's about being faithful with what God gives you to do.
You've said before that the church has always innovated. So I want to be an innovative church. So unpack that for me a little bit.
Sure. I would say the church was built on innovation. Early believers, they gathered in homes when the temples were off limits. I can think, what do? Let's meet in someone's house. Let's
Yeah.
go to Bob's. Okay, we're doing that. That's innovative. The printing press made the Bible accessible to the average person.
Yeah.
You have radio and TV. It carries the gospel across the world. And then you have live stream and podcasts. Those were all innovative tools. And yes, even AI, they're all tools. They're all innovation. They're just the next chapter in the story. So think of it this way. We don't innovate to stay relevant. We innovate to stay obedient, which is reach the people for the gospel, spread it.
Yeah, I think obedient innovation is something that's important. And I mean, anything that happens can be used for good or be used for bad. It's really the way
Absolutely.
that we use it. So when, cell phones came out and people said, well, I'm not going to carry a cell phone because now it's attached to my hip and
Hmm.
people can, well, either get on the train or don't, but you're probably going to need it. I'm sure people who were using spreadsheets when the computer came along, I don't know very many people who use actual, paper ledgers now. I'm sure if you use a paper ledger out there, I want to know about it because I know you exist. But,
Well, you're probably like in the Guinness Book of World's Record for age, I would think. I mean, like that's just, but I don't know. I'm just teasing.
dude, well, my mom used to keep a check register back in the day.
Sure. Yeah.
And her check register was always on point. And
Yes.
for those who are younger, who've never used a check register, man, like that takes
I had to do
obedience
it.
because,
Yep.
right? And you'd write a check and the funds would still be in your account, but you had to account for them being gone. And so you had
Yep.
to reconcile that at the end of the month. Now you just
Yep.
go into QuickBooks or Intuit or whatever it is, and you click
Yeah.
reconcile, and it reconciles everything for you. So,
Yep.
but that's what we're talking about, and churches need to be doing the same thing. Rick, I've been talking to pastors over the last several months, especially since we've been doing our podcast, and they really struggle with using AI,
Hmm.
and they want to use it. They want to use it correctly. They want to be obedient. They want to be innovative, but it's hard to find that balance. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. You're trying to navigate, innovation without losing theological grounding.
Yeah,
There,
absolutely.
That's a big thing. And so, like, I met this 31-year-old kid on Saturday, and I think when you're in your 50s, you can call a 31-year-old a kid, so I'm going to go
Absolutely.
with that. He's the same age as my son, and he's a pilot, and he
Right.
flies privately owned jets. He's flying a Falcon 900. Never even knew that existed until Saturday. And we were talking about, so I started asking him all these questions, and he says, I fly, with instruments and then instinct. And I think the same is true for us as pastors. When we navigate or fly through theology with innovation, through theology with innovation, we need instruments and instinct. Instruments are scripture and sound doctrine. They keep you aligned. Your instinct is your discernment. You're sensing where God is moving. And so what you do is you join him there. And when we use both, innovation stays healthy. The danger is when you fly with one and ignore the other.
Man, I love it. and I wish I knew how to fly. So when he gets his license, will he be able to fly a prop plane, like so that you can go, like he could give you guys a ride? Like,
Well,
will
no,
he be
he
able to?
currently flies a Falcon 9.
So that's a jet.
It's a jet, a Falcon. It's
Okay.
a 14 passenger jet that 3 multi-millionaires all own, and all he does is fly them wherever they want to go. He's their private pilot. Yeah, yeah, I was pretty impressed. So I got into the weeds with him on how he did
Yeah.
what he did and all that. So yeah,
Yeah. I think the key lesson for me is I need a private pilot is what I'm hearing.
yeah.
Rick, I like to get practical for our audience. How could pastors foster a culture of innovation on their teams?
Yeah, I would say start by celebrating celebrate experiments, not just results. So give your staff, your people permission to try, give them permission to fail, give them permission to, like, it's a safe place if you fail. You tried something new. I applaud that. Give them permission to learn and improve. And the safest place to innovate, I mean, it should be the church because we're called to walk by faith and it takes faith to innovate. So this is where like tools like Church Hub AI can come in and help because it simplifies structures so pastors and teams can have margin so they can be creative again. And so I would say when leaders stop micromanaging the mechanics, creativity starts to flow.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from our pastors listening. What's a
Yeah.
creative idea maybe that you've seen work in your church this year that you could share with others that maybe they could use? Rick, before we go, let's wrap it up. What's the bottom line? Why does innovation matter so much for the church right now?
Because innovation keeps the mission moving. God never called us to preserve methods. He called us to proclaim the gospel, this wonderful message. And innovation honors the past, but builds for the future. Innovation is how we make sure the gospel is heard by every generation, not just remembered by the last one. So I would say don't fear innovation, but redeem it.
Yeah. Well, hey, Rick, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good stuff as always. For our audience, thanks for joining us for episode 3 of The Future of the Church here with Rising Tide Leadership and my good buddy Rick from Church Hub AI. Remember, innovation is not rebellion, it's obedience when it's guided by the Spirit.
Yep.
I hope I got that right, Rick. So
You did.
Okay, good. So subscribe on YouTube. Don't miss what's coming next. And we're going to be hitting some more topics here as we talk about the future of the church. So join us next week, and we'll see you then. Thanks a lot.
Hey, have a good one, Mo. Thank you.
All right.